welcome to Beware of Spoilers. I am Adam, and happy Saturday. Wow, what the fuck? Today is not Saturday, today is Sunday. I just saw a movie that I can say with a reasonable degree of certainty is probably going to make my top 10 list at the end of the year. And that's rare. It is very infrequent that happens. I think it happened in 2019, Fast Color. 2020, it definitely wasn't in 2020, because 2020 was a clusterfuck. 2021, I don't think there was a movie that I was like, this is going to make my top 10 at the end of the year. Maybe Summer of Soul, because that did make my top 10. And Tick, Tick, Boom was in the back half of the year. Anyway, I just saw Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is this great movie from Agbo, which is the Russo's production company. Oh my god, it is rare that you go to a movie theater, and I'm going to talk about movies that I feel like or movies and TV shows that I feel like are influential on this. So I don't mean to take that away from it, but I've never seen a movie that feels more unique and different from like everything else in the field. Like, it is so different from like everything out there. It's like, it is unlike any other movie I've seen before, in the way that it plays with themes and stuff like that. First off, let's talk about the editing first and foremost, because it's so weird a little bit, the editing, but it's so well done, where when the movie starts, we're kind of open on Evelyn and her husband talking about, taxes. They have to go, and they're getting audited by the IRS, so they're trying to get all their taxes together. And you get this very harried and frantic scene to open the movie of them in the house, just trying to get through their taxes and trying to, get through all of that and do everything they need to do, and all of these things are happening all around them, and it all needs to get done, and it's just a very hectic and harried scene, and then it almost completely halts when they get to the IRS, and the scene and the pacing changes, but not in a bad way. Like, the pacing slows down. It's kind of like they're like, let's let the audience catch up with us. Let's let the audience, figure out where we are, and speak to and that way they can have an understanding of what's going on in the movie at a deeper level. And it works for the movie, because then at that point Evelyn falls down the rabbit hole, so to speak, where she ends up in the multiverse and dealing with the multiverse. And there's this multiverse-ending cataclysm coming, and it's like, they have to stop this demon who's going to destroy the world. And it's like with this black hole, and it's like you get this real great mixture of surrealist humor for the first half of the movie, and then it changes to this ponderous indictment of nihilism, and it works. Like, the first half of the movie, you get scenes where it's like she's explaining what the black hole is, and it's like she made an everything bagel, but literally an everything bagel, where it's a bagel with everything in the universe on it, and it created a black hole, and it's things like that. And it's she fucks up one of her jumps into another body, Evelyn, because that's the thing. The conceit of the movie is that Evelyn is given access to the multiverse and is able to access her other lives, the alternate lives that she led in these alternate universes based on decisions she made in the past. And she was trying to do one to learn martial arts or something like that, and she accidentally jumps into a body where in that universe everyone has hot dogs for fingers. And it's such a weird thing. It's one of those things where it's I'm this feels like I'm watching an episode of Rick and Morty, but it's playing these things with sincerity. Rick and Morty does it doesn't do it too seriously because it's meant to be a parody. This is playing it with sincerity in a way that really works for this, but would not work for Rick and Morty. If Rick and Morty tried to do it with this level of seriousness, I don't think it would be good. It would not fly. what else was there? And then what happens is, like, once the reveal happens, there's like a point where the movie just kind of flips. I keep saying it's the halfway point, but really I think it's closer to, like, 2/3 of the way through the movie, where the movie kind of flips and becomes this ponderous piece about, is it a, what's the point of doing anything if all of this is out there, in all of these other universes, and all of this other stuff is happening all around you, and you get a knowledge of the infinite. What is the point of all of that? And it's like, it's this, it becomes this big thing of, like, well, what, like, it's a discussion about nihilism at that point, where it's about, how do I put this? I'm trying not to spoil who the bad guy is, because I feel like that's a big part of the movie, and I feel like not knowing who the bad guy is going into it would aid in enjoyment of the movie. So, like, that's what I'm not going to spoil. But it's like, it's one of those things where it's like at one point, she has access to the infinite. Like, she gets access to like, all of the knowledge of all of the universes, and she can just go between them at will. So she's kind of this demon at this point, because she can do all of that. And, like, there are things, like, that are, great little bits all through the movie. Like, at one point she's fighting, and she turns the people she's fighting's weapons into giant dildos, and she starts beating the fuck out of them with them. There's a point where they go to an alternate universe where Michelle Yeoh is the name of the actress. Evelyn is a chef in a hibachi restaurant, and the other guy she's with is living out a Ratatouille situation, but he has a raccoon on his head. And it's just such a weird, surreal thing that you're watching, and you're like, it's just, it's funny in a weird way, and it kind of works. And then, like, the way it's spaced out in the second and third, like, the back half of the second act, the entire third act, is, you get these moments of levity from these things, without, like, falling too far down into those, and still getting the serious emotional moments that drive the story. And like, the fact of the matter is, it's like, the fact that the antagonist is like, well, nothing matters because of everything out there, why am I going to do anything? And the resolution of the plot is ultimately Evelyn being, well, if none of it matters, then why shouldn't you do whatever you want? It's kind of like the antithesis of nihilism, and it works pretty well. And because of that, it's this interesting kind of, like, juxtaposition of these two ideals. And then, there's something I really don't want to spoil, but there's a big part of it that I want to talk about, like the drama, and like, the fact that her husband is the one who, like, all through the movie she's kind of ridiculing him and being like, oh, what's my stupid husband doing? And it's like he's trying to, like, kill him with kindness. That's what he does through the entire thing to everyone. And, and every time he does, it always works out. And she's always like, oh, what the fuck's he doing? Why is he doing that? Why is this happening? Why does this need to happen? And it's like, it's an interesting kind of shift. When she realizes that, like, oh, he's right. Because, as the third act is happening, Evelyn is now at a point where her psyche is kind of fractured. Not fractured in that way, because it sounds worse than it is. It's like she can see all the alternate universes. Like, she can see every universe out there and everything going on in them. So she's watching her life play out in multiple universes all at once. So because she can see all of that, and she's learning everything and seeing everything, and everything's happening in that way, she gets this, there's this moment where she, like, she's watching she's watching herself from a universe where she becomes an actress. So yeah, this is another thing that gave me real Rick and Morty vibes, was she goes off to be an actress, and the husband gets off well on his own too, and then the two of them get together anyway in that thing, and I'm like, oh, I've seen this before. But there's, that thing where he's talking to her, and he's like, people always see my kindness as a weakness, but I don't. It's like they see it and they think I'm not a fighter, but I am a fighter. And it's the moment where she realizes that everything kind of flips and it works so well in that moment. And it's like, we get these small moments of understanding from alternate takes of basically the same events, where it's like alternate takes of her getting to know Deidre, the woman from the IRS that Jamie Lee Curtis plays, getting to know her, and learning about her and becoming kind of at peace with that. It's an interesting kind of look, where it's like, I feel like it's and what's what I'm looking for here? An interesting, it's an interesting take on it, and it works very well. What else is there to address with this movie? It's just so original and so different. And it's like there's a number of great things they do with the idea that they're playing with the multiverse, and it's like, when she and the bad guy, I think the bad guy's name was Jobu something, but when it's her and the bad guy, having a conversation about what it's like to be the only two beings in existence across all of reality who have this kind of access and all of that, when she's having that conversation and talking to Jobu, and it's like, they go through all these different places, and it's like they're sitting on the couch in their apartment, and then it's like, okay, now they're out on a they're doing kung fu at a temple. They're all over the place. And it's like at one point there are two piñatas who are hanging next to each other, getting beaten by kids, and it's like they're cartoons in a like hand drawn on a piece of paper. And then like probably one of the best scenes in the movie, for me at least, is they're just two rocks at the edge of a cliff, the two of them. And they're there, and the what's it called? The one goes to the other. It's like, well, what's this place? And Jobu explains, like, well, most universes, didn't evolve the ability to have life. Things happen and life doesn't go. So you can just come here and just be as a rock, and just you can just do that and just exist for a little bit. And it's that moment where it's like, oh, this person finds existence exhausting. And it's this kind of, and the thing is too, the way that they kind of lay it out is kind of this, explanation for why this character is the way she is. And again, I'm trying not to spoil who the character is. And there's a great joke about it too, right when they first reveal who it is. That moment kind of explains everything, where it's like, I can just sit here and I can just be and not worry about anything. And I can't even say that because I'll spoil who it is too. I'm trying to, like, it's not like me to try and tiptoe around this, but I think I do this for Knives Out too, where I'm like, I'm not going to reveal who the killer is. And there are other times where I'm like, I'm not going to reveal this key piece of information, but I feel like this is a key piece of information I shouldn't reveal, because it's going to, it's not mind-blowing of a reveal. It's something where you're like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense. But it is the kind of thing where it's like, it does make the exploration of the movie and the viewing of the movie more interesting as you watch it, not knowing that until you get to the point where you know that. It's just, and the thing is too, it's like, there was very easily a way where they could have just been like, well, is she just crazy? Is the stress just breaking her? Because I thought there was a chance that that's where this was going pretty early on, where it's like, oh, the stress just broke her. But no, it's played completely straight. It's not like, it's not something like that. It's just, completely straight. And then it's like, as they're explaining what's going on, like, they kind of play with it a little bit. There's a moment where they play with it, where she's sitting in the, what's it called? She's sitting in the, in the little cubicle with Deidre, and Deidre's like, well, here's like, so you run a laundromat, but you're also a singing coach, a teacher, And she starts listing out all of these other jobs of all the things they were claiming as deductions on their taxes. And it's this great, like it's this great thing that it's kind of like a moment of foreshadowing to what's coming. And the like I do really like they play it earnestly and don't try to be like, well, is she crazy, or is this not happening, or what's going on, like who, like what's going, like. And the thing is too, there definitely is a movie to be made like that, and I would definitely watch that movie. But I think that for this movie, doing it the way they did works a lot better, especially with this cast. And the cast all does a great job. Everyone in the cast, brings a great performance, and it is carried by their performance. Like, there's a scene where it's like, in order to get the abilities from alternate universes, you have to do something unexpected because the universe doesn't know how to react, so it just kind of slingshots you when you do that. So what happens is, like, oh, I didn't know there was a stoplight back there. So, like, because I'm like, did someone just stop next to me? Why are they going to stop next to me? It's just the light behind me is red. Like, there's a moment where, where to get powers, you do something weird. So, like, it's all, like, really weird things where it's, like, at one point, like, all right, everyone, get ready. And then it's, like, everyone starts doing really dumb shit all over the place where it's, like, someone goes and takes a copy of their ass on the copy machine. Someone starts singing Ave Maria while flapping like a bird. And it's, like, it's all these weird things going on. And it's, like, that's how it works for her, too, where it's, like, she has to profess her love for Deidre. While being attacked by Deidre and almost killed by Deidre. So that way she can learn to be a martial artist. She has to, learn that, like it's all things like that, like swallow a frog, ornament, or like, what else there was a few other ones. But, like, at one point, there's a fight because there are two people who need to get powers to try and fight her, get abilities from the universe to try and fight her. So what they do is, like, the two of them find out that the way to do it, because they're in communication with another universe who can traverse, and that one tells them how to do it. So, meanwhile, she's just kind of trying things and hoping for the best. So, like, blowing air up someone's nose, and like things like that. It's just like, oh, it's weird. Try it. Let's see if it does it. And then it's like, these two guys find out they have to shove something up their ass. So it's this fight sequence where the entire thing is this guy's trying to get this thing shoved up his ass. And it's like this whole fight sequence is going on, and it's pretty well choreographed. And then this other guy who you didn't know was there, he jumps over and, like, drops ass first onto it to get it. And the entire rest of the fight, this guy is fighting without pants, and they have it with a sensor thing over it. He because of the way he landed on it, it's like for the entire rest of the fight, you see this, you see that thing hanging off his back, and the other guy joins the fight, and he's got something else shoved up his ass too. It is just a really funny whole sequence, and it's just that kind of thing is all the way through the entire, like, first half of the movie. Like, that kind of thing just dominates, and it's like when they cut between, like, the universes, and you see all these other bizarre universes at times, it's really interesting, and it really has some cool ideas, which does beg the question, like, because I did show an anime universe at one point, like, if she was the protagonist in an anime and that protagonist had powers, would she be able to go to that, use that universe's powers to become that and have those abilities? Or like Pinata-verse, like, could she become, like, if she's a pinata in that universe, could she, like, not die if, because she was, like, ripped in half and she was still alive and talking, like, could she just not die if she had those abilities? Like, it's all cool things like that are like, this is a really interesting idea, and it plays very well, and it does what science fiction is supposed to do, which is, maybe it is a product of the modern era and the era we're in, where we're in this thing where we have infinite choices and seemingly infinite ideas and infinite possibilities at our disposal. So, like, the idea that, like, well, if we have all of this able to happen, then what's the point of doing anything? If that's the case, and we're doing, like, and if that's the argument to be had, and that's what this is about, then, there is the case that, like, Rick and Morty is the example I keep going to. Because this feels like a Rick and Morty thing. Like, if it is where, the idea of infinite choices leading to this, and all of this is going wrong, then what about, what's the point of doing anything? And it's cool that rather than, sticking to that and being like another example of that in this world, like, why, like, they do something different. And it's, just because there is the infinite, and just because there's all of this going on around you, doesn't mean you have to do nothing. It does provide for a lot of interesting, storytelling. So we'll wrap up there for today. And we'll be back with... Next week we have Fantastic Beasts late in the week. And then after that we have... after that there's something else after that. The usual stuff, Moon Knight, all of that cool stuff. So until then, have a great rest of your week.